corporate greed was left unchecked in the world of Cyberpunk 2077. It seems you might say the same circumstances in our world is what led to one of the most high-profile disasters of a game launch, when the game came out in 2020. But that's not quite the end of the story, as there's a lot more to decrypt here, where I ask the question, does Cyberpunk deserve a chance? Yes, in this video we'll be looking at the game Cyberpunk 2077, the anime Cyberpunk Edgerunners. We'll also be looking at the game's disastrous release, the world of Cyberpunk, and the Cyberpunk genre itself, due to the upcoming release of the expansion Phantom Liberty, as well as a wide range of changes releasing alongside that expansion. Cyberpunk 2077 takes its name from the genre of cyberpunk itself, so it seems that's the place to start. Cyberpunk is a subgenre of cyberpunk fiction that often includes a futuristic dystopia, which can also contain elements of social collapse and high-tech, AI, the fusion of man and machine. There are a lot of loose elements in cyberpunk fiction, meaning some works focus on certain elements of the genre, and or don't even touch other parts of it. Another big element of cyberpunk is its aesthetics. For most people, these aesthetics of the genre were first popularised in the 1982 film Blade Runner, based on the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Aesthetically, the genre normally takes place in cities covered in neon lights of advertising, dirty streets, and a mix of east and west. You might find a bit of film noir as well. The same year Blade Runner released, a manga called Akira came out, and got a 1988 anime film, which also helped shape the genre's look. We now get onto the punk aspect of cyberpunk. You see many cyberpunk stories are set in a world ruled by corporations, and we see the dangers of unchecked capitalism.
Buy that for $1.
So the punk aspect often has the idea of rebelling against corporations and or the system itself. But the punk aspect can also be attributed to street level stories and settings. And now that out of the way, let's talk about the Cyberpunk tabletop game. The Cyberpunk role-playing game is the setting for Cyberpunk 2077. The first version of the tabletop role-playing game was released in 1988 and created by Mike Pondsmith. There are also several different versions of the role-playing game after the original. Cyberpunk 2020, Cyberpunk V 3.0, and Cyberpunk Red. I've not played the games myself, so I'll be looking at these games from just a lore perspective. The Cyberpunk world takes place in alternate history from our own. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but the main things you need to know, in 1990, America got involved in the First Central America War. A bunch of bad stuff happened, which led to the crash in 94, which led to the collapse. Martial law, a bunch of people became nomads on the west coast. During the collapse, a man called Richard Knight wanted to make the perfect city, which would eventually become Night City, the main setting for the Cyberpunk series. But Richard would be shot and killed before he could see his vision fulfilled. Night City is located on the west coast, within the Del Colorado Bay area. Night City and the United States in general get more heavily influenced by the corporations such as the Arasaka Corporation during the collapse. It's worth noting that the Soviet Union is still around in this alt history, but in the late 90s they did abandon communism. As the 2000s rolled around, the mega corporations gained even more influence over the world. We even got our first corporate war. By the late 2000s, many states began breaking away from the United States, with many becoming free states and setting their own laws and regulations. This includes the state Night City is located in. Now let's talk about how technology has advanced in the cyberpunk world. By the time of 2013, the year the original role-playing game takes place in, technology has had some significant advancement. At this point in time, there's already a wide range of cybernetics available. There's also brain dances, which is the ability to play back someone's experience through their own eyes. This is still in its early stages, but it still exists. Robots are also commonplace by this time period. In the second edition of the game, Cyberpunk 2020, the net, which is a more advanced version of the internet, is used heavily by netrunners, hackers with skills on cybernetics to interface with the net. Netrunners are used by fixers and corporations for different purposes. Fixers are basically people who put jobs together for clients in the Cyberpunk universe. This leads nicely to the other roles found in the Cyberpunk series. There are solos, mercenaries that specialise in combat, techies that range from technicians to cybernetic specialists. They can also include meditechs that specialise in treating people's injuries and fixing cyberware issues. Rockabye, who are rebellious musicians who use music to revolt and fight authority. Nomads who come from one of the many nomadic families. Media, who are basically extreme journalists. Corporates, also known as corps, are people that work for the corporations. In 2021, the Fourth Corporate War brought forth a number of changes to the world and Night City. It's believed the data crash happened around this time, where viruses were released into the net and pretty much destroyed the original version of the net. A small nuclear device was detonated in Arasaka Towers by a strike team led by Morgan Blackhand. Parts of this event are covered in Cyberpunk 2077. The aftermath of this event was known as Night City Holocaust, where the city was in flames and was just left in general chaos for years afterwards. Also, after all this happened, the United States became the new United States of America, also known as the NUSA. I know lore-wise we've got a lot of time before 2077, but I feel that's enough to get you the rough idea of what's going on. We'll encounter some more lore as we go through the game. Now it's time to talk about the development of Cyberpunk 2077, but to do that we need to talk about its developer, CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt is a developer based in Poland. They got their start localizing and publishing games in their native Poland. Eventually, this led to starting development of their own game, with the Witcher series based on the books by the same name. In 2009, GOG, or Good Old Games, launched, which focused on making old games available on modern platforms, all DRM-free. Cyberpunk 2077 was first announced in May 2012, with a teaser trailer released January 2013. Before they could start on that, CD Projekt was already in the midst of development of Witcher 3. Witcher 3 would be released in 2015. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was a huge critical and commercial success. By 2017 the game had sold over 33 million copies. Witcher 3's rise would signify CD Projekt Red as a major developer, with many people looking to what would come next from them. Cyberpunk 2077 development began in 2016, following the release of Witcher 3's final expansion, Blood and Wine. In 2018 we got another teaser trailer, and then a gameplay walkthrough. At this point in time, it had been reported huge chunks of the game had been changed from what had been planned during its pre-production stages. Also around this time, CD Projekt Red was getting reports of it not being a great place to work. In 2019 it was announced that Keanu Reeves would be playing a part in the game, and is playing a major character, Johnny Silverhand, who is an important character in the Cyberpunk lore.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
We also got our first release date of the 16th of April 2020. Later on we found out that many people internally didn't believe the game would be ready until at least 2022. In January 2020 it was announced the game would be delayed until September of that year. Then the pandemic happened, the game was pushed back until November. The game got delayed again, till December 10th, 2020. Due to the issues in the current gen consoles at the time, the Xbox One and the PS4. The game would release on that date, but how did it go? Well, there were a ton of bugs, some more interesting than others, let's say. PC and playing on the current gen consoles, the Xbox Series and the PS5, was fairly stable and playable for a fair amount of players. It's also worth noting that playing them on the next gen consoles was just playing the Xbox One and PS4 versions in backwards compatibility mode, but it was playing the game on the PS4 and Xbox One hardware that was almost unplayable, low frame rates, even more bugs and straight up crashes. Sony ended up pulling the game from digital storefronts. What made things even worse was that a huge amount of the player base played on these consoles, with the pandemic making it hard to get the newest consoles, as well as hard to get new graphics cards if you want to upgrade your PC to play it on. But I played it on launch, so how was my experience? Well, I played it on the PC. Hell, I even managed to get a 3070 a few days after launch. It played on my old graphics card. I can make it look even better with this one. And yes, the gameplay is mostly good for me. There were some bugs. For me it was mostly audio bugs. There was a bit of an inconsistent frame rate, with it ranging from 80 to 30 FPS. It didn't affect my experience too much, but of course I could be one of the lucky ones in that regard. CD Projekt Red had a reputation for being a very consumer-friendly company before Cyberpunk's launch, but they are still a publicly traded company, which is the most likely reason why the game was rushed in the state it was. But hey, the game sold around 30 million copies by the end of December 2020. Funny how a game about corporate greed didn't learn any lessons from it. Actually, thinking about it's just kinda sad. Bank had already been made. CD Projekt Red said people can have full refunds, even they didn't let retailers in on that. But I still don't think many people took them up on their offer. But the company did apologise for how the game launched, and made a roadmap to slowly fix the game. While there was a slight delay in that, when CD Projekt Red was themselves hacked, in this way less cool cyberpunk dystopia that we find ourselves living in. But the company did start slowly fixing the game, and adding small bits of content here and there. In patch 1.5, there's even a proper next-gen update for the PS5 and the Xbox Series. The base PS4 and Xbox versions are also somewhat stable, but I still hear mixed things on that, so I wouldn't recommend them. Support ended for these versions with the Edgerunner update. I guess now's a good time to talk about Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a 2022 anime, animated by Japanese animation studio Studio Trigger, who are known for such works as Kill la Kill, Promare and Inferno Cop. The anime series takes place about a year before the game. The main reason I'm talking about the series before the game is you can spoil the series by playing the game first. So yes, I recommend to watch Edgerunners before playing the game. The series is bombastic, heartfelt, and a great introduction to the cyberpunk world. The series follows one David Martinez, as he becomes Edgerunner, which is kinda like a merc. I won't say much more as I don't want to spoil the show, but if you're a fan of anime, or just want a good introduction to the world, I would recommend Edgerunners. This then pretty much leads us to present day, with the upcoming 2.0 and Phantom Liberty expansions, with this video hopefully coming out around the same sort of time, with 2.0 overhauling a lot of features, systems and UI and graphics, which I can't really cover too much since I haven't actually played it yet. They also added vehicle combat and revamped the police system, which was notoriously bad at launch. Side note here, 2.0 will probably be out by the time the video releases. I just won't have time to play it, edit the script and video and put it back into it before this is due out. So I guess the best thing to do in this regard, when talk about the game, is to interject when I think there's going to be some changes that 2.0 might make to the game, with its systems and stuff. But overall, to get the best idea what Cyberpunk is like, we're going to be looking at Act 1 of the story to get an idea what the game is all about. So, spoilers for Act 1. The footage you will see from this game was recorded on both the PS5 and PC, with footage from different playthroughs. So let's begin, shall we, with the character creator. In the game you roleplay as the mercenary called V. You can fully customise V, choosing their gender, looks and their life path. We'll get back to that later. You can also choose V's starting attributes. This is something that might be tweaked in 2.0. You got body that improves things like HP, stamina and melee damage. Reflexes which covers dodge, handguns, blades and assault weapons. Technical ability which is your armor, crafting, engineering. Intelligence will cover your hacking. Cool is stealth, crit and cold-blooded skill trees. These attributes can help with dialogue and traversal as well. Now back over to V's possible life paths, which are basically the three backgrounds you can choose from, which are Nomad, Streetkid or a Corpo. These don't affect the game too much, but they give you some dialogue options. Also each one has its own playable intro, which I will cover now. First let's look at the Streetkid intro.
A little anesthesia.
We'd find V sitting on their nose, after someone tried to mug them. V is talking to Pepe. Pepe needs some help, as he's in debt to Kirk. V goes to talk to this Kirk. He cuts a deal to steal a car to clear Pepe's debt. V gets left from Padre. We learn that V returned to Night City after 2 years. V tries to steal the car, but a man called Jackie is also trying to steal the car. The cops show up. The cops cut them loose. V and Jackie have a nice chat. Jackie invites us for lunch. Cue the V and Jackie friendship montage. Now let's look at the Nomad life path.
Electric coupling module.
You said it was nothing serious when I came in. You said you were sure.
We start with V removing the patch from their former Nomad family. V fixes their car, has a chinwag with a local copper. V goes to look at a telecom tower, because they can find out where their job is. After you do that, you drive to your job. Hey look, it's Jackie Wells. We find out we got to smuggle a package into Night City's borders. They try doing that, but it doesn't go so well. So we get a car chase. After that they hide for a bit and open the package. Hey look, it's an iguana. Cue the montage. Last we got the Corpo life path. V starts by throwing up, then Jackie calls. V is dealing with the stress of the cutthroat nature of Arasaka work culture. V's bosses throw in the European Space Council. They need to do something about a rival Arasaka member. V gets a nice flight across the city. V meets Jackie to try and scheme. V and his boss are outmaneuvered. V is fired and frozen out. Jackie tells us our new life starts now.
V! Hey, hermana. Your new life. It starts now.
Hello there, Night City!
So yeah, in each intro you end up becoming friends with Jackie. We got a montage of some of their exploits and growing friendship. Half a year later we start Act 1 proper, but first we can do some optional VR training / tutorials. So we'll do a little bit of that and talk about some of the gameplay mechanics. Cyberpunk is a first person game, so the gunplay is what you would expect from a first person shooter. You can scan and hack things with your cyberware. You can also quick hack to do things like distract enemies. You can crouch down to sneak up on enemies. You can grab them, kill them, and take them down non-lethal as well. You can also hide bodies so enemies don't get alerted. To hack certain things you need to do a little minigame, where you match a sequence. You can also do some other things with quick hacks as well. You can even hack into the cameras or scout the area. With the basics of gameplay out of the way, let's start the first mission, the rescue. Jackie and V are hired by a fixer to find Sandra Dorset, who is a Corpo whose tracker has been offline for a few hours, which probably means it's been blocked. T-Bird suspects she has been kidnapped. V hacks open a door. V enters the apartment. V can loot things if they want to. Looks like the target was kidnapped by some black market cyberware scavengers. V and Jackie can sneak and or fight their way through the apartment. It's worth noting that using skills more often means you unlock better perks in that skill tree. V sneak and chokes their way through the apartment. We find Sandra. V cyberlinks to her, stops the signal blocker, pop fictions her chest, carries her to wait for trauma team, who are a very expensive medical / SWAT team. V hands her over to them.
5 steps back, now. TT-133 to control. Patient NC570442 secured. Stimulants being administered. 70 milligrams dopamine, 110 norepinephrine, 800 fibrinogen.
V and Jackie leave the apartment and head on back home. They get ambushed by scavengers. V has a car shootout. After that we find Watson, which is where V's apartment is located, is on lockdown. In your apartment you have your stash, where you store your weapons, equipment and the like. V goes to bed to continue the story. V wakes up next day and has some glitches in their UI. Jackie will meet us downstairs. Regina Jones phones us to tell us about some side missions. We do a little hand-to-hand training with Coach Shredder's robot. I mess up and make everyone hostile and die. Meet Jackie and says we have a breakout job for a fixer called Dex. V drives to the local Ripperdoc to get some upgrades and fix their UI. Before the Ripperdoc we meet Gary the Prophet.
Do you truly believe that those who have sold you your mechanical eyes have resisted the temptation to peek through them? Cameras are all around us, even within us. Your joys, your worries, your lives.
Let's just say you're right. So what? Should I just gouge out my optics? Nah, thanks but no thanks.
Meet Misty, Jackie's girlfriend. Get her hot fixes and upgrade our cyberware from Ripperdoc Victor. Ripperdocs are where you upgrade and get new cyberware. We meet Dex in the limo. We gotta do a bit of prep work before we can do the big job. We gotta get a special robot, the Flathead, from the Maelstrom gang, who are having some internal problems. The Flathead was lifted from Militech, so there might be a little bit of an angle with their agent, Murderous Strout. We also talk to a woman called Evelyn Parker for some intel. I also must mention this game is no longer on rails at this point. We can explore and do some side missions if we choose to, but we are limited to just exploring Watson due to the lockdown. But we will cover some side missions later on. First we do the pickup. We call Murderous Strout, to arrange the meeting. V does just that, which starts out on the wrong foot. After that, we get her talking. She gives us some credit to buy back the flathead. There's a few ways this quest can go. You can refuse to pay for the flathead, you can spend your own money, you can use the no-tech credit, which has a virus on it, but you can decrypt it, which is what we'll be doing. V meets with Jack and enter the Maelstrom space. The Maelstrom are basically very cyberware heavy junkies. After a little business sit down, V pays using the decrypted credit. V also tells Maelstrom that Militech are on to them. This causes Militech to siege the Maelstrom base. We have to fight our way out with the help of the Maelstrom, so we do just that. We meet a Netrunner, who is an enemy type that tries to hack you. Eventually we fight some robots, then we exit the building, and there's a bit of a corporate reconstruction at Militech. I do some perks, but I imagine these are going to be reworked in 2.0. So it's time for the next quest, the information. For this V needs to go to Lizzie's bar. At Lizzie's bar we meet Evelyn Parker. We learn about the relic, which is the target for the big Dex mission. The relic is a chip that can store a person's personality onto it. We are stealing the chip from Arasaka. Evelyn has some information that can help. She knows Yurino Arasaka, the son of the head of the company. But to learn more, we have to look at Evelyn's brain dance, so we can see information about the heist location. I mentioned brain dancers earlier. Basically, you can relive what a person sees. These are very popular. In the game, you can use them as a way to get more information. We also meet Judy, who will help us use the BD playback. In the game you can play back and forth with it. Scan objects to learn more information. There are 3 layers of playback: visual, audio and thermal. Playback and scan each layer, it will give you more information. We find out where the relic aka the biochip is hidden. With that the quest is complete and we can start the heist. With a hop and a skip, V enters the Afterlife, which is a famous bar for Night City's mercs.
Set your butts down comfy.
Thanks for your help back at the scav hunt.
A few Reapers less in the city. Good thing.
City Hall should be fucking thanking us. Sweet booth. It's soundproof?
Jackie.
Now, Mr. Wells is right. We're gonna be going over some sensitive material. But if it's all right with y'all, I'd like to start with a question for Miss V.
We go with the plan for the heist. First, V and Jackie get a fancy Delamain ride to Compleki Plaza, the location of the chip. Then to the plaza under a false identity, use the flathead to disable security. They enter Yorinobu's room and steal the chip, but Yorinobu comes home early, so they hide on a TV.
貴様の母親が生きていなくてよかった。息子の不甲斐ない姿を目の当たりにして心を痛めずに済んだのだからな。Oh shit! これでもう誰のことも許す必要はない。
They see Yorinobu kill his father, Saburo Arasaka. Cover's blown, and they have to fight their way out.
You don't fucking try! Not bad.
Client feedback noted.
How's our ride looking?
Though alas, we are being pursued.
Sweet fucking Jesus!
Please remain calm.
Calm!
Roadblock ahead.
¡Ay, mis huevos!
A hostile enemy aircraft has a lock on us.
Leave it to me! You're white as a ghost, Jack.
See? I told you we'd make it.
My medical diagnostics indicate that Mr. Wells's condition is critical.
Critical? Fuck does that mean?
Mr. Wells's external iliac artery has ruptured. Internal hemorrhaging is...
They escape, but Jackie is dead. V stores a chip in their head for safekeeping. V heads to the safe house. Dex seems pissed the job went south. Tells V to wipe the blood off themselves. V gets blindsided and shot in the head.
Can't risk it, V. Remember our first convo?
I'll fucking kill you!
Seems I've chosen the quiet life after all. No blaze of glory for me.
Then we see we're in the year 2023, and we appear to be Johnny Silverhand. This mission is called Love Like Fire. We start out with Johnny playing a gig. Johnny meets Rogue. They appear to be doing an op. We blast away onto the Arasaka roof. Oh look, Johnny has a nuke. Fight our way into the building and arm the nuke. Johnny does some more blasting. Johnny uploads a virus. A big boy attacks. Johnny tries to escape but fails. Johnny is being cast out of the building. We see the mushroom cloud. Johnny is being loaded to the Soul Killer.
死者は雄弁だが、彼らは決して嘘をつかない。死者の言葉にはつつましさがある。始めろ。
We get to meet Johnny's digital ghost. V wakes up in a pile of junk. Takamura, who was the bodyguard for Saburo Soccer, shoots Dex in the head. It seems he thinks V is Saburo's killer. V gets the backhand. V wakes up in a car. Get attacked by some goons. Have a car chase shootout. After that, it would seem we need some medical attention. We are whisked off to our Ripperdoc Victor. It seems Johnny Silverhand is in V's head, and is slowly taken over V's mind, as a result of having the biochip in V's head when they got shot. With this revelation, it seems V doesn't have much time left. V sees Johnny while trying to rest.
Who you work for, start talking!
Fuck.
Fuck. Fucking chip.
After that, we're free to explore Night City, and we are now in Act 2. We meet Takamura. We discuss leads to possibly find a solution to this problem. Johnny talks to us directly, and he says he'll try to help us, as he doesn't want to be in V's head anymore. So the structure of Act 2 is to follow these leads and try to find a cure for V's predicament. There are also a bunch of side quests and gigs to do as well. Also, Johnny's along for the ride now, so we have sort of a buddy cop thing going on with him. The side quests vary heavily, with many being related to side characters you meet and find for other missions, and have their own storylines. These gigs are small in scale, and are set up by the local fixer in the area. These often involve going to locations with one main objective. The fixer will also often have optional side objectives, like don't get spotted for example. We also have the Cyber Psycho missions. Cyber Psycho is a condition in the Cyberpunk universe where people go crazy from having too much cyberware. In the Cyber Psycho missions, V has the option to take them down non-lethally, which is a side objective for this mission type. You already know that there's non-lethal takedown options, but you can also shoot the enemy in legs to avoid killing them. There's also non-lethal guns as well, so you can play the game non-lethally if you choose to, for parts of it anyway. I won't get too much into the weeds of combat mechanics since 2.0 is going to change a lot of aspects of that. We can talk about the open world and mission structure. The open world and its map kind of feel like it's trying to emulate open world games like GTA, but until 2.0 there was no vehicle combat and not a great police system, which kind of meant the open world felt kind of flat. As for the missions itself, there are normally multiple ways to make it through a mission, depending on your attributes and build, meaning maybe one way you'll do a mission is to sneak in, use an attribute to gain entry, maybe a hack will talk your way in. Of course you might want to just shoot your way through, it all depends on your build, character choices and cyberware. With 2.0 the perks and the combat will probably differ, also there are now drawbacks to having too much cyberware, but there are a lot of ways to build your character. You can focus on blades, hacking, fists, stealth, and a variety of weapons. This kind of range of choice won't change in 2.0, so should you give Cyberpunk a chance? There's no doubt that CD Projekt Red did huge amounts of damage to its brand and the trust of its consumers. There's also no doubt you should be wary of buying something from CD Projekt Red, but as for Cyberpunk itself, it's been out for a few years now. CD Projekt have been putting work into it, and even before 2.0, the game was in a very good state, so I have no problem recommending jumping into the game with 2.0 if you haven't before. I would even recommend 2.0 would be a good time to jump back into the game if you have given it a go before. Here's my reminder to tell you to go watch Edgerunners if you haven't. So yes, give Cyberpunk 2077 a chance, if you feel the game has something you're interested in. Also you can find the game at discount in most places. If you're on console you can pick up the last gen version of the game fairly cheaply and get a free upgrade to the PS5 or Xbox Series version. It's even green checked on Steam Deck. The real issue is any new CD Projekt Red stuff. Say the expansion which comes out days after 2.0, it's probably best to wait for reviews and other feedback. The Witcher 3 had some very good expansions, but I still think the trust has been lost for a lot of people. Well with that, this video is over. We might say it's come to a close, like this case is closed right now. If you've watched this far, thank you. I guess you've watched this far since you're currently seeing me and hear my voice. Yeah, that makes sense. This is one of my two big back-to-back videos I've done this week. This one and one where I play a FIFA game. I don't know, quite different videos, but yeah, try I guess. So yeah, if you haven't watched that one, watch that as well. There's going to be a link somewhere for that. Also in the future I'll be doing more videos. What they're going to be, I haven't actually decided yet. You know, you can leave a comment if you've got anything you want me to cover. Anyway, this video's about to end now, so I'm just going to stand here and you'll see some recommended videos. Like, subscribe, comment, and close various things I say and do. Anyway. Oh yes, look at that recommend video now. Should be good.
That's no good.
I think that's enough.